Let's jump straight into today's explainer because we are tackling a massive point of confusion in the global financial world. We are looking at two absolute giants in the insurance and financial services space. I mean, they operate globally, they manage hundreds of billions of dollars, and they share the exact same name, Prudential. But here is the fascinating twist. They are completely 100% unrelated to one another.
To untangle this, here's our roadmap for today. We'll define these two giants, jump across the pond to look at the UK origins, and then trace the building of the American rock. From there, we'll cover some historical controversies, and finally, survey the modern landscape for both companies.
Section 1. The two Prudential giants, unrelated companies.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that Prudential plc, that's the British company on the left, is not affiliated in any way, shape, or form with Prudential Financial Inc., the American company on the right. In fact, if you read the fine print on any official document from either of them, you will literally see legal disclaimers explicitly stating they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They just both happen to adopt the virtue of prudence as their namesake way back in the 19th century.
Section 2. Across the pond. UK origins.
Tracing things back to 1848, the British company started out in London as an investment and loan association, mostly providing loans to professionals. But the real game changer hit in 1854. That's when they opened an industrial department, pioneering this whole model of selling life insurance directly to the working classes. They had agents going door to door, collecting premiums for mere pennies. They steadily grew over the decades, expanded into general insurance by 1919, and after a century of massive global expansion, they officially restyled as Prudential plc in 1999.
Section 3. Building the American rock. US origins.
So decades after the British company launched, an American named John F. Dryden started his own venture in 1875 over in Newark, New Jersey. Much like its UK counterpart, it found early success selling low-cost policies to the working class. We're talking 3 cents a week burial insurance. Throughout the 20th century, this American Prudential evolved from a mutual insurance company into a total financial powerhouse. They acquired the Botcha Company brokerage in 1981 and eventually debuted on the New York Stock Exchange as a joint stock company in 2001.
But before we get to the modern era, I've got to ask you a question. Where did their famous Rock of Gibraltar logo actually come from? It's one of the most recognizable corporate symbols of all time, and its origin is actually pretty surprising.
You probably assume executives traveled all the way to the Mediterranean to find this ultimate symbol of strength, right? Nope, the truth is way closer to home. In the 1890s, an advertising agent was just looking at a local volcanic neck in Secaucus, New Jersey, often called Snake Hill. That incredibly local geographical feature inspired the legendary Rock of Gibraltar branding, giving birth to iconic slogans like "Get a piece of the rock." Today, a 2-ton piece of the actual Rock of Gibraltar sits in the lobby of one of their corporate buildings in Florida.
Section 4. Scandals and controversies. Historical lawsuits. Now, with any massive institution operating for nearly a century and a half, the history isn't going to be entirely spotless.
The American company definitely has some darker chapters, spanning decades of legal and regulatory issues. It's important we look at these objectively to get the full picture, ranging from mid-century housing policies all the way up to 21st century lawsuits over military benefits. Let's break down exactly what occurred.
Beginning in 1954, Prudential, along with other insurers, declared a policy stating they would not insure mortgages for white families living in racially integrated neighborhoods. Historical sources point to places like East Palo Alto where this happened following blockbusting practices. The policy was crafted to align with U.S. government agencies at the time, like the Federal Housing Administration and the Veterans Administration. Those federal agencies were refusing insured mortgages to black families and to white families in predominantly black communities, a practice that heavily facilitated white flight and demographic realignment.
Moving into the modern financial era, we hit a truly staggering number: $8 billion. During the 1980s and 90s, the SEC investigated Prudential Securities for suspected fraud. They found the firm had allowed rogue executives to cheat customers, defrauding some 400,000 individual investors out of nearly $8 billion. At the time, that was the largest fraud ever uncovered by the SEC in U.S. history. The company eventually settled with investors for $330 million and paid another $41 million in fines.
And the legal hurdles didn't stop there. In 1997, Prudential settled a massive class action lawsuit for $2 billion. The company admitted that for over a decade, its agents had been improperly persuading customers to cash in old life insurance policies just to buy new ones, simply so the agents could rack up more commissions. Then in 2010, they faced a lawsuit involving military life insurance. Instead of paying out lump sum checks to the families of fallen soldiers, Prudential was putting those funds into retained asset accounts, essentially corporate accounts yielding 0.5% interest for the families, while the company itself was making up to 4.2% in its general account.
Section 5. The modern prudential landscape. Operating today. Let's see where these two stand now.
Following a massive strategic shift in 2019, the UK's Prudential plc did something pretty drastic. They actually demerged their UK and European operations, spinning them off into a completely separate entity called M&G plc. So today, if you're a customer in the UK looking for the British Prudential, you actually have to go to M&G. By doing this, Prudential plc completely removed itself from its original home market to focus entirely on global structural growth areas.
Today, that UK company defines itself as an Asia-led group, capitalizing on the needs of diverse global populations. In Asia, they are targeting a growing middle class that needs to save more and protect against ill health. Interestingly, they also have a heavy presence in the US, providing secure retirement income for a growing aging population. On top of that, they are aggressively expanding in Africa, operating in markets with a combined population of almost 400 million people.
Meanwhile, the American company, Prudential Financial, has maintained absolute dominance on its home turf. By 2019, it became the single largest insurance provider in the entire United States, holding over $815 billion in total assets. It remains a massive Fortune 500 powerhouse today, employing nearly 40,000 people and generating over $70 billion in revenue.
So, as you can see, we are dealing with two entirely different beasts here. One started by lending to London professionals and transformed into an Asia-led growth engine. The other started with burial insurance in New Jersey, navigated some pretty massive domestic controversies, and became the largest insurer in America. It leaves us with a really fascinating question. If a shared name doesn't mean a shared legacy, shared values, or a shared footprint, what truly defines a corporate legacy? Think about that the next time you see a famous corporate logo. Thanks for tuning in to This Explainer.